Hello. Let me not assume that you know who I am because you might be coming to this channel for the first time. Should you like the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, but also please share your comments. My name is Temogo Zondi and I come here today to share insights and lessons of my move that I recently made. I recently moved to a new province and I just wanted to share my insights and lessons on how the move became possible. A sense of new adventure, a new season. Jokes, who am I fooling? I moved back home because I missed home. I really missed the sense of community. It became evident when I became mom and my husband and I became parents that we needed a supportive structure. There's a saying that goes, it takes a village to raise a kid. We needed that village, that supportive village. And yes, I do not want to make my KZN family feel bad because I did have friends and people who were there for me. It was just different, that the type of support structure that I needed, really, I knew that my family in Gauteng will be able to give that for me. So that was one. And the second one, really, I had spent 8 years in KZN Durban, but by year 2, I was ready to move. But my husband wasn't. However, I always knew that us moving to Johannesburg, or me rather moving back home with him, would also work to his advantage. Half of his work was always based in Gauteng, and I wanted him to have the share of the pie, right, in his industry. So I also knew that it would work to his advantage as much as it worked to mine. But the desire to come back home really became evident when I became a parent. A mindset shift had to happen, right? I'm a huge believer of when you are a working girly, every month you need to spoil yourself and reward yourself. So how we used our finances needed to change drastically. And I needed to compromise and sacrifice for the bigger vision, which was to move. So mind shift was really important. It plays a huge role in really picturing or imagining yourself in that role, right? Or in the new season, and ensuring that, okay, we have enough money, we save up enough so that just for any circumstances, right? Because as much as you have an ideal circumstance, there might be delays, and we needed to ensure that we save up for that. We also knew that the move needed to happen. It's either at the beginning of the year or end of the year. And that's because we have a son who is in school. So like in this case, we needed to get a transfer because the school is national. So we needed to also look at that and ensure that the move doesn't happen in between the year. Thirdly, one of the things that I needed to do to prepare is ask myself, do I move as soon as one of us, either me or my husband, gets a job? Or do I move with or without a job? And having a job would have been ideal, right? Because then at least the stability sort of like continues, right? However, I had a timeline. It's so hard to get a job. That's the reality of most South Africans. So I had a timeline that, okay, I will look for a job. However, if the job doesn't happen, then how do you also move forward? Because you also do not want to have your dreams or your goals or a new season being delayed just based on this one aspect. At one point, you need to trust faith. Then the last point was to really weigh our options, the pros and cons of the move. Think of best case scenarios and the worst case scenarios, and to be able to prep for that. And I think once you imagine such scenarios, it's not because you are being realistic or you're trying to be pessimistic, but it's really just trying to sort of like weigh, should anything happen, at least you're like, oh, we thought about this and this is how we prepped for it. So steps we needed to take. Firstly, budget. You need to forecast a budget whilst you are planning, when you are in there, and just I think plan also for any delays that might happen. And I'm saying delays because as much as we thought that by December we would have found a place, we hadn't, unfortunately. So you need money to be able to plan around. Also cut out unnecessary expenses. If it's a nice to have and a not must have, it's a conversation that needs to happen. But at the end of the day, money needs to be saved and there needs to be a budget you are working on for the move. Secondly, in fact, this is not by order of priority, but I would have started with this one, right? It is praying and fasting. One of the important things is you really want to be aligned with God and not misaligned. So the many times you'll even question yourself that, is this what God wants me to do in this season, or is it what you want to do? Because sometimes there can be that, exhaustion, being overworked. I'm not saying I was overworked. Being overworked and all the other external factors can make you feel like, oh no, I think this is the new season that God is calling me into, when it's just you and your flesh, really. And just you not being able to withstand the discomfort at that time. So try to pray about it, try to fast about it. If you are in a committed relationship, let it be an ongoing conversation. Like I had said earlier, and I mentioned earlier, that in 2 years of being in Durban, I already wanted to move back home. And also it wasn't that, there wasn't love in Durban. But I think I was from the point of, my husband is my husband, so we can move anywhere and we will still be able to function. There wasn't anything per se that was making us stay in a certain province or in a certain place for longer. So yeah, try to pray about it, try to fast about it, try to keep it intact, because you also do not want to be, sharing it with everyone and having everyone have opinion over a decision that you want to go into, right? So I think just keep it intact, until you're ready to share the news. But sometimes really it's just good to work out a plan, especially if you're in a committed relationship. Work out a plan with that person. If you're alone, work out a plan, pray about it, fast about it, and allow God to lead in that area. Lastly, I'd say that then start looking at and investigating, doing your research with regards to the areas that you want to stay in. We were privileged because, like I said, that originally I'm from the province that we were moving back into. So every now and again, whenever we visited family, others would have moved to a new area, and we got to explore different areas and, what are the pros, what are the cons, and the schools around the neighborhood, right? Because that was also one of the important things to us. What was also a privilege is we had friends and family. We really had loved ones who were able to, once we had seen a place, contacted the agent, we were able to have a loved one go and view physically. So that was also one of the privileges that we had, having that supportive community around, and people would view on our behalf, even though none of the places we ended up going with, but it gave us a sense of assurity of that we had done our homework. We also knew that we did not want to buy immediately, and that's because you actually want to scout out, you really want to scout the land, really, and know that, okay, this is an area we really want to permanently settle in. So we knew that coming in to a new province, we wanted to firstly rent, and then once we have scouted the land, scouted the areas, then make a decision on where we want to buy. So you need to own the space that you're in. So you need to know that I am moving into this new space, and as much as I can be an expert in this area, I'm also not an expert in this area, in this city, or in this location. So I had to contact industry friends, people I have worked with before, people I have met, people I knew, and really tell them what is it that I do, what are my skills, what is it that I'm looking for in this season. I knew for sure that I did not want another 9 to 5. In fact, I'm happy to do a 9 to 5, but I also was not ready to be in the office, be office based from 9 to 5. So I really had a plan of what type of jobs and projects and work I wanted to get involved in. And therefore I prepped, and yeah, so you need to market yourself, talk to people, talk about your work, talk to the relevant people, literally put yourself out there. If they don't know, then no one is going to do anything. But, should you say something, you really have nothing to lose. You can, say this, send out CVs, and yeah, someone out there will definitely give you a call. Another thing that I did was I have 2 CVs, right? I have a CV for my consultant work. So I do consulting, and I have a specific CV for that. And you know your skills better than anyone. Therefore, it is always important to package and tailor-make certain CVs and profiles or portfolios to suit the brands that you're sending your CVs to, or to suit the client or the prospect that you want to send stuff to. Don't do a copy and paste, because that never works. So I have 2 CVs. I have one for, me being an employee, and I have another CV where it is me being a self-employed and me doing consulting work. Another thing that I did, right? My brother owns one of the biggest catering companies for film production industry. And over the years, I've seen this business grow, and would also hear some of the highs and lows that he was going through. So knowing that I was coming back home, one of the things that I really wanted to do was plug in and help him out in his business. So I have my skill set, but I also, throughout the years, spent hearing from my brother of just the highs and lows and the teething processes that he has in his business. I also was able to identify the need that he would need at that moment. So what did I do? I worked on a pitch, and I pitched to him, what is it that I feel would definitely solve a certain, or bring a solution for some of the teething stages that he had in his business. So what I'm trying to say is, you will need to put yourself, think outside the box. Think, what is it that other people need? I had to, for my brother, I literally had to put my skill set aside and assist with what he needs at the moment. And those were really not my skill set, right? But it was stuff that I had learned within my career journey. So think outside the box, be able to, be flexible with what is it that you want to do. Put yourself out there, put your work out there, talk about your work, tell people what is it that you're up to, and allow things to happen.
One of the disciplines that I've had to instill in my day-to-day, or whenever I reflect on my week, what is it that I'm looking for? And one of those things were output versus just being busy. What I mean by that is, I had to learn to look at my week, look at my day-to-day, obviously my to-do list, and look at my week and see what is it that I had outputs on, and what is it where I was just responding or reacting to things. Because sometimes you can have a busy week, but you find that the whole time you have been responding to emails, actioning out things that you sort of needed to do because you are responding, versus when you are doing outputs. Outputs is, what is it that I needed to do? For an example, what is it that I need to do for Anashemikliho? What is it that I need to do for my passions and career growth? That when I look at the week or the month, I'm able to see an increase of my day to day and the hours that I've put in this thing. So one of the disciplines that you might need to learn in this space or phase that is similar to mine is learning to understand your outputs versus responding, and being able to tell the difference of if this was really a busy and productive week or this was just a busy week of you responding to things that I needed from you. So the best way I can advise rather is always ensure that in your month you have at least 60% of outputs versus 40% of you having a busy, responsive week.
Moving by yourself versus moving with a family or a kid in the mix is different. I think moving just by yourself, you're able to adjust. The adjustment is just for you, right? And anything that you are working towards, it's for you. So whether there's any discomfort, whether there's any challenges that you're facing, it is only for you. Moving with the whole family, my husband needed to be on board with the decision. Not only that, we also needed to be researching schools, that where my son will be able to thrive in and really do exceptionally well. So we had to research schools, we had to research the area, we had to find out if the schools were great around the areas that we were looking at. Secondly, it was the church. So we are a young family that, thrives. we actually do. We thrive within the kingdom of God. So we needed, I think church was one of the first priorities as well when we made a move back to Gauteng. I knew that as much as I loved my old church before I left to go get married, it was different, right, this time, because I enjoyed it, but it doesn't mean that my family will enjoy it as much as I did. And it also didn't mean that as a family and in the season that we're in, it might be suitable, right? So we had a to-do list. We had a list of churches we wanted to visit when we arrive. And what's nice is we now have live stream. So we would live stream and, catch online services so that we can get a feel of where we really wanted to go and end up. Funny enough, all the churches that we checked out online, we haven't even gotten, around to visit them, because one of the churches we wanted to visit, as soon as we got here, it was close by, right? And we went there and we just have never stopped going there. It is a word-based church. It works for us in the season that we're in. And yeah, it fell into place. Be open to change. I think once you know that you want to embark on a new season, a new adventure, whatever you desire to call it. Secondly, be flexible. Not everything is going to go according to your plan. In fact, if it's going according to your plan, I think you need to question that. I'm honest. Not everything is going to go according to your plan, but it will definitely go according to God's plan. Even when, let me say this, a friend once said to me, and I'll never forget it, when something is amiss. So let's say I've moved to Gauteng and this was not what God's desire was for me and my family. It's fine. It's fine. It will work accordingly because that's who He is. Right? So you don't have to, or you don't even have to go, no. Once you realize that, what, I think this was not it, and you admit, then He's able to come into that situation and make it work for His good. That's who He is. So be flexible with your plan. Be flexible with your goals. Allow yourself to stretch and expand. One other lesson is staying connected. And yes, you might want to try your best by staying connected with those you have left behind, and staying connected also with people you are meeting, new people and old people, that you're trying to revive relationships or connections with. But I think whatever it is, just make sure that you are not a one-man island. You're able to stay connected with the people who are able to help you to grow, help you to reason, and also help you in this season. It was so, so good to realize that this new season did not only work out for myself and my husband, but it has worked out tremendously for our son as well. Like the breakthrough in his speech, the breakthrough in his confidence and social skills has grown. And it's so beautiful to see him just being, so confident, just being able to express himself in words. Because you need to remember that most of the time, if he wasn't at daycare, he is with us and we are adults. Whereas this side, there are cousins, there are friends around the complex we live in. So he's able to socialize, mingle, and really just be able to express himself. So it is also a breakthrough, not just for us as adults, but for him as well. So allow yourself to stay connected with those you feel you need to stay in connection with, and enjoy the season. Enjoy what this new season brings. Remember to plan and prepare, and really just allow God to do what he needs to do in this very season.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. To stay updated with new episodes and blog posts, do subscribe to this YouTube channel or our webpage, unashamedlyher.co.za.